Ferrari just revealed a problem so serious, one driver called it the worst weekend of his entire career, while the other suddenly looked reborn. Charles Leclerc said he felt like he was going to crash at almost every corner. Lewis Hamilton said this was the happiest he has ever been inside Ferrari. Same car, same track, same weekend. And what Ferrari discovered after Canada may completely change the future of the SF-26. Because hidden underneath Hamilton's incredible battle with Max Verstappen was a brake crisis so damaging, Ferrari engineers spent the entire weekend trying to understand why one side of the garage had pace, while the other was collapsing lap after lap. But here's the part almost nobody noticed. The problem did not begin during the race. It started on Friday. And according to Leclerc himself, Ferrari never solved it. Not once. Now the team has finally revealed what was really happening inside the car, why Hamilton adapted while Leclerc completely lost confidence, and why this changes everything before Monaco. Subscribe if you love Formula One stories that reveal what teams do not want fans to see. At first, Ferrari believed Canada would simply be another difficult weekend. Nothing catastrophic. Just damage limitation. But inside the garage, the mood changed almost immediately after the first practice session. Because Charles Leclerc came back to the pits describing something drivers hate more than being slow. Unpredictability. Not lack of pace. Not tire wear. Not traffic. Unpredictability. And in Formula One, that is terrifying. A slow car can still be managed. Drivers adapt to slow cars all the time. But a car that behaves differently every time you hit the brakes becomes impossible to trust. That was the beginning of Ferrari's real nightmare. Leclerc later admitted the issue followed him through the entire weekend, from the very first laps on Friday all the way to the checkered flag on Sunday. And this is where most people completely misunderstood what was happening. Fans watching on television mostly focused on lap times. But Ferrari engineers were focused on something far more dangerous. Driver confidence disappearing in real time. Because once a Formula One driver stops trusting the car under braking, everything starts collapsing together. Corner entry speed drops. Tires cool down too much. Steering inputs become hesitant. Tiny corrections turn into major instability. And suddenly, the entire lap falls apart before the driver even reaches the apex. Think about driving on a wet road during heavy rain. Now imagine somebody secretly changing how your brakes respond every few corners. You would never attack naturally. You would constantly second-guess yourself. That is exactly what Leclerc was experiencing in Montreal. And the worst part for Ferrari was this. They could not fully understand why Hamilton was slowly adapting while Leclerc was getting worse. Because early in the weekend, Hamilton was not magically comfortable either. He also complained about balance issues. He also struggled with straight-line speed. Ferrari still lacked power compared to Mercedes and Red Bull. But Hamilton approached the problem differently. Instead of trying to force performance immediately, he started driving around the instability. Earlier braking points, smoother rotation, less aggressive inputs on corner entry, small adjustments that looked invisible on television, but completely changed how the SF-26 behaved underneath him. And this becomes incredibly important later. Because by Saturday night, Ferrari realized something uncomfortable. The issue was no longer just technical. It was becoming psychological. Leclerc started losing confidence corner after corner, session after session. Hamilton started building confidence little by little. Same garage, completely opposite direction. And then Canada gave Ferrari the exact race conditions they feared most. Heavy braking zones, constant tire temperature swings, traffic everywhere, multiple restart scenarios. It was basically the perfect storm for a braking crisis. But hidden inside that chaos, Lewis Hamilton was about to discover something that may have changed Ferrari's entire season. The race itself started quietly, too quietly. And sometimes in Formula One, that is when the real danger begins. Hamilton launched from 5th, Leclerc from 8th. Not ideal but still manageable. Ferrari knew they did not have the raw straight-line speed to dominate overtakes naturally. The Mercedes power unit still had a visible advantage on the long Montreal straights, and Red Bull remained extremely difficult to pass under acceleration. So Ferrari's plan was simple. Survive the opening phase. Protect the tires. Wait for the race to come toward them. Hamilton understood that immediately. Leclerc never really had the chance. From the opening laps, Charles became trapped in traffic, surrounded by cars he could follow but not comfortably attack. And this is where the brake crisis became brutal. Because dirty air changes everything for tire temperatures. Imagine trying to cool down after running while somebody keeps wrapping blankets around you. That is basically what happens to an F1 car behind traffic. Airflow becomes inconsistent. Tires overheat in some corners, then suddenly cool too much in others. Now combine that with unstable braking confidence. The driver no longer knows exactly how the front tires will react every time he attacks a corner. And for Leclerc, the problem became mental as much as mechanical. Every lap started feeling reactive instead of natural. Meanwhile, Hamilton was doing something very different. He stopped trying to force overtakes. He started managing the race like a chess player. Small lifts before braking zones. Smoother throttle exits. Tiny corrections that protected tire temperature instead of destroying it. And here is the fascinating part. At the time, almost nobody noticed, because Hamilton was still sitting outside the podium positions. No dramatic overtakes. No viral radio messages. No huge television focus. But inside Ferrari's garage, engineers were starting to realize something important. Lewis was stabilizing the car. Charles was still fighting it. And then the entire race exploded. George Russell suddenly retired from the lead with an electrical failure. Safety car. Instant chaos. Everything compressed together. Now Ferrari had a decision that could either save the race or completely destroy it. Pit immediately or stay out. And this is where Ferrari finally reacted with the confidence people had been waiting to see all season. The call came instantly. Hamilton into the pits. Fresh hard tires. Aggressive undercut attempt on Verstappen. The stop itself was almost perfect. Just 2.4 seconds. That may not sound massive to casual viewers, but in Formula One, that is the difference between attacking and getting trapped. And suddenly, the entire emotional energy around Hamilton changed. When he rejoined the track, he no longer looked cautious. He looked dangerous. The gap to Verstappen started falling immediately. 3 seconds, then 2, then 1. And Ferrari engineers could finally see something they had not consistently seen all year. The SF-26 was alive underneath Hamilton. Not perfect, still lacking straight-line power, still vulnerable on acceleration, but balanced enough for him to trust it under braking. That trust changes everything in Formula One. Because once a driver believes the car will respond correctly, he attacks differently. Later braking, sharper rotation, earlier throttle application, tiny gains everywhere. And over a race distance, tiny gains become domination. Leclerc never reached that point. Hamilton suddenly did. And what happened next became one of the most important moments of Ferrari's entire season. By lap 50, the entire atmosphere inside Ferrari had changed. Not because they suddenly had the fastest car. They didn't. Not because Red Bull disappeared. Verstappen was still fighting like Verstappen always does. The real shock was something much more important. Lewis Hamilton was finally driving the SF-26 on instinct instead of survival. And you could hear it in the radio messages. Short answers. Calm voice. No panic. No frustration. Just focus. That is usually the first sign a driver has fully connected with the car underneath him. Because when drivers are uncomfortable, the radio becomes emotional. Questions. Complaints. Corrections. Hamilton sounded completely different in Canada. And Ferrari knew it. Then came the phase that exposed the true difference between Hamilton and Leclerc. Dirty air disappeared. Fuel loads dropped. The tires stabilized. And suddenly, Hamilton's braking confidence became stronger every single lap. Now he was hunting Verstappen directly. This was no longer strategy. No longer pit timing. Pure pace. And this is where the hidden Ferrari revelation becomes fascinating. The team discovered the brake issue became dramatically smaller once Hamilton managed tire temperatures correctly over a long stint. That is critical, because it means the SF-26 was not suffering from complete brake failure. It was suffering from a temperature imbalance chain reaction. One small instability creating larger consequences lap after lap. Think about balancing a shopping cart with one damaged wheel. At low speed, maybe it feels manageable. But once you push faster, every tiny vibration spreads through the entire cart. That was Ferrari's problem. The braking instability affected tire temperatures. The tire temperatures affected grip. The grip affected confidence. And confidence affected braking even more. A vicious circle. Leclerc got trapped inside it. Hamilton slowly escaped it. And then came the moment that changed everything. Lap 62. 6 laps remaining. Hamilton was directly behind Verstappen heading into turn 1. Now remember something important here. Drivers do not attack around the outside unless they fully trust the car. Especially not against Max Verstappen. Especially not in Montreal. Especially not while fighting for a podium. One hesitation under braking there and both cars could end up in the wall. Hamilton committed anyway. around the outside, late braking, perfect rotation, complete control. And in that single moment, Ferrari finally saw the version of Hamilton they had spent months waiting for. Not adapting, not experimenting, competing naturally. After the overtake, the emotion inside Ferrari's garage exploded, because this was not just second place, it was proof. Proof that Hamilton had finally found a way to unlock performance from the SF-26 under pressure. And then came the post-race comments that made the entire paddock pay attention. Hamilton openly admitted he finally understood the car much better and felt far happier with it. That sentence may end up becoming one of the defining moments of Ferrari's season, because confidence in Formula One spreads everywhere. Once drivers trust braking, they attack corners differently. Once they trust corners, they protect tires better. Once they protect tires, race pace improves naturally. Everything connects. And suddenly, Ferrari had a terrifying new reality forming inside the garage. Their newest driver was learning faster than expected. Their longtime star was losing confidence faster than anyone imagined. And that creates a dangerous internal shift, because Formula One teams always move emotionally toward the driver generating momentum. Right now, that driver is Lewis Hamilton. But the deeper Ferrari problem was still waiting underneath all of this. Because while Hamilton's brilliance saved the weekend, Canada also exposed something Maranello did not want the world to fully notice yet. Ferrari left Canada with a podium. But internally, the team knew the weekend had actually exposed a much bigger problem. Consistency, not speed.